All this is Dr. Mobeen Sayed from drbeen.com. Welcome to one more show. So this discussion today is a follow-up to the ivermectin discussion yesterday. In my opinion, this study is underpowered, deliberately or not, to be able to show results in the face of slight changes in the overall shape of the study, as we saw. Number one. Number two, it is quite a smaller size if mortality benefit is the benefit to look at. Some people said that I have been sold out, or some said it is YouTube who has uh, made me buckle under pressure. The data is data. In my opinion, if you ask me, so this is an opinion set today. I'll show you some data here, which is very interesting in this study. My opinion of the study is actually there are some very interesting trends to observe. The rest of the study is actually useless. It's not even worth discussing. But because the study is out there, and because there is an interest in looking at it, we should at least look at it in a balanced way. Otherwise, we become easy to be dismissed. My opinion, my position to use this for my practice, which I do not practice in the US. So for my practice, his is actually strengthened. That's my position. Number one. Number two, there are certain criticism of the study which are valid. And number three, there is a need for a larger study if possible for the mortality. I think that we are kind of at the end of pandemic. So these things would now just remain as curiosities for us in the future. Number four, there are tons of other studies as well on ivermectin showing good results, and we haven't gone anywhere with them. By we, I mean our healthcare authorities. They would use these kind of studies to say this is not useful, but there are studies that have shown data. I have actually myself presented studies that have shown good data, but they have never been accepted either. So with this discussion is to look at how interesting the data set is and where there are flaws or or limits in the data set that hold this study back from being good study for mortality outcome discussions. So let me show you both side of that. So here I have, once again, what I've done is I've picked up the data from here and I have laid it out in a more funnel-like structure. So I'm going to go there. This data. So if you see, this is the table. This is table 2 that I have presented here. And check out how interesting the data is. Again, I can only use the word generally lower, generally higher, interesting, good trend. I cannot say statistically significant either way. So from this study, we cannot actually say that study has proved that ivermectin will not help, or study has proved that it will help. Because they were trying to, their hypothesis was it would reduces the progression to severe disease. They could not reject that. Um, it will not stop the progression to severe disease. They could not reject it with significance. They cannot accept it either. So we cannot say to you, this study is not fully powered to be able to create an answer because no statistical significance is present. Because of that, I cannot add significance by myself. I'm going to look at this data with you, which is very interesting. So here, 241 people on the ivermectin side, 249 on the um, standard of care. Remember, ivermectin was also given standard of care. Also remember that the about 70% of the patients in both arms were vaccinated. About 50% fully vaccinated or two dose, and another 20% one dose, and then 31% ish were not vaccinated. So this is not so interesting data. Again, that was not their question, not their hypothesis, but this is also a very interesting thing to look at from vaccines point of view, that how well the vaccines are doing. Okay, so let's see. Plus the vaccines behavior in this whole thing. Vaccines are supposed to work with the disease to prevent severity. So there is a modulation because of vaccines too. Okay, so out of 241, standard of care plus ivermectin, 52 became severe, and out of 249 standard of care, 43 became severe. So more here, less here. Data not significant. So just keep this in mind, that not significant is in the background. It is there for all of these. Now, out of these 52 people, 6 went to ICU. Out of 52, 6 went to ICU. Here, out of 43, 8 went to ICU. I hope you're seeing that 52, 6. Here, 43, a smaller number was severe, but it is possible that some from here and some from here. But I am assuming that this is really from those people who became severe, majority or almost all went to ICU. Then, check this out. Out of 6 in the ICU who were on ivermectin, 4 became ventilated or were ventilated. Out of 8 in the ICU on the standard of care, 10 were ventilated. Out of 8, 10 were ventilated. That means they pulled some more from here or here as well. Do you see this? 8 in the ICU and 10 on ventilation. That means it is possible that these ICU, all of them were on ventilation, and there were more pulled, or maybe some of them from here and then some from here. On the ivermectin arm, in the ivermectin arm, 6 in the ICU and 4. So maybe some of these 6 and maybe 2, let's say, and then another 2 from here. But even if you just said, from ICU to ventilation, 6 in the ICU, 4 on the ventilation in ivermectin, 8 in the ICU, and 10 on the ventilation. Then this is the striking part. Again, I cannot use the word significant part. All 10 in the standard of care died. All 10 died. In the ivermectin, out of 4, 3 died. And again, it is not necessary that all 4 on ventilation died. It may have been 3 were all the ventilated one. It is possible that some from ventilation, got discharged. Fortunate for them. And it is possible that somebody else. I don't know that. That data is not there. But can you see this? I'm going to repeat that for a second. 52 became severe, 43. This was the primary question asked. Because of this, they have to simply say, well, the hypothesis we made, we could not reject it. Fine. Out of 52, if I'm in a hospital, I tweeted this morning as well. If I'm in a hospital with COVID, I would rather be on this side. Out of 52 who became severe, 6 went to ICU, 4 went on ventilation, even then 3 died. Out of 43 in the severe group, 8, I'm assuming 8 out of these, 43, 8, and then out of 8, 10, and all 10 died. So Texas says, how can we figure p-value? I will show you some more data. So This is very interesting. The biotech and bioinformatics with Professor Greg says, for a guy who says he doesn't spin data, you spin data like a top. What is the spin in here? I have done a complete discussion yesterday talking about how the data is not significant and how the values cannot be used. And I actually was accused of buckling down under pressures or um, sold out or they got me. But I really presented the data. Today I wrote this is my opinion piece, and I'm showing you a very interesting trend, and I'm saying I cannot say significance with it. I just cannot believe it. Okay, so dead 3, dead 10. Now, from the study, the 1.2% on the ivermectin side and 4% on the standard of care side. But once again, not um, significant. However, this arm is actually interesting. What does that mean if this kind of a study happens? You look at the study and you say, you know what, this data trend really looks interesting. The p value, for example, was 0.9, 0.09 instead of 0.05 for the mortality. So you say, well, that was not a primary outcome that we were looking for. And so that is not something for which the study was powered. However, this 0.09, that means if I keep repeating this, 9% of the times I'll get these kind of results. And I wanted to say, and these kind of results by chance. The probability of getting these results by chance are 9%. And I say, well, if these were 5% or lesser, I would have said this is a good, significant outcome. So we are not there. It is 9%. So we say, you know what? There is an interesting trend here. We should now do more studies on that. That is how this data can be used. Then similarly, as I discussed yesterday with FDA, that is a generally lower trend and used it, they authorized it. It is also possible for a community, a healthcare setting to make a decision based on this and say, I see this value, it is not significant, it is showing a good trend. Maybe we'll do a limited size observation as well and we'll arrive at our own conclusions. Now, with this, someone did another other analysis, which I want to show you. Let me bring that analysis over. So I did my own little analysis. Again, these analyses are actually not to be done with or to be said that, hey, this is what is the actual outcome of the study, because study was not powered for that. So with these disclaimers, we can still have scholarly, nerdy discussions, and that's what I'm going to have here. Uh, Look at this. So I did a chi-square. This is ivermectin plus standard of care. This is standard of care. This is severity, and this is death. This is a chi-square calculator present. I just use that. So I plugged in the numbers. 52 became severe, 3 died. 43 became severe, 10 died. And then these are the numbers. The chi-statistics is 4.58, p-value 0.03, and it is significant. So, but that, again, if you see, this is interesting. So that if you are sitting together, your doctors and you're a panel of doctors and looking at this study and you're saying, you know what is the outcome of this? What is our learning from this? So you can dismiss this all by saying, well, the significance is not there. At the same time, you can look at it and say, here is an interesting data point. From here to here, this looks interesting. Why not we do some more work? Either do more trials or see if we can have a limited setting or see more studies if they've been done, which you can easily find them. So another person had done a similar exercise, and this is that exercise here. What they did was They said 52 in severe became severe, and from those, three died. So that is a 6%. Again, I'm seeing this little chart, uh, circling on the Twitter as well, from which I took this data. The problem is this. I mean, again, we have to stay uh, scientifically as accurate as we can. I've already given you my opinion of where I stand with ivermectin. This 52 and this 43 is actually a chance as well, because data does not show that to be significant. That means further analysis of these can also be a fluke, right? Because this number can change. The next time somebody tries to do it, this number can change. But if we say that this is the number, if this is the number, then from this side, severe 52, 3 died. Here, out of 43, 10 died. This is 6%, this is 23%. So now we're not taking the numbers from here. So we are really not within the context of the study anymore. We're just looking at the data more. And now, is it prohibited from science to not look at this data? No, it is not. This is how people would then figure out what next study to do, or where to find something useful or not useful, where to focus further. This is how science progresses, or science's steps would progress, and other hypotheses would come together from here. So 6%, 23%. Risk ratio 0.25, p value is significant for this if this was the outcome. Relative risk reduction 75%, and the 95 confidence interval is also within the unity's range. So that's interesting. So this was interesting data. Now I wanted to share some more things in the my notes and various people's messages. Good discussion around this. Uh, and I want to show you some of the data points here. I think that we are paying too much attention to the study. We should just simply say, okay, they did not prove or didn't have enough powered study, and move on. Uh, Here, this is interesting. The study had about 70% of the people that were vaccinated. You see here, um, let me see if I zoom in a little more. Completed 2 doses of vaccine, 124 on the ivermectin side, 130 on the placebo side. Received 1 dose of vaccine, 42 on the ivermectin side and 35 on the placebo. So collectively about 70. But again, how many days after the 2 doses, how many days after the 1 doses, we don't know. And then at least we know this for certainty: not vaccinated, 75 in ivermectin side, 84 on standard of care. And remember, ivermectin is ivermectin plus standard of care. So that is 31% and 33%. Now, we also know this, that the point of a vaccine is to actually modulate or prevent the severe disease or severe outcome, including death from COVID. So when you have lots of people who are vaccinated included in this, the first question is, what are vaccinated people doing in the hospital? And secondly, I mean, yes, I know that they end up in the hospital too. And secondly, vaccines are going to change the outcomes because of their own efficacy or lack thereof, or waned. Some have waned efficacy, and some, so that vaccine have their own, they would act as a variable in this. And so adding them into this mixture creates a confusion. And then somebody becoming severe or becoming ventilated, you have to take into account their vaccination status and their efficacy and the duration of vaccination and the waning of the antibodies and all of those factors. I am also, it is interesting for me to see um, if they had that data for when was somebody vaccinated. Anyways, I don't think it is good powered for mortality discussion in general. So, as much as this is interesting data, because this study was not focused for mortality discussion, so it's not large enough to be able to actually create a good outcome. We can see the trend. So, we have already discussed that the proof is actually not there for anything. Now, vaccine did not show efficacy, neither did it show not efficacy. So, for example, if we look at this study and we say, you know what, we could not see the benefit we were looking for, but we can also not accept that we did not see the benefit because so that is the vaccine. Sorry, let me go back for ivermectin for a second. The ivermectin we cannot see from this study. We can't say that it has proven conclusively that it doesn't work, because if we say proven conclusively, then that would mean significant, and it has not. So that means, from a scholarly point of view, from a scientific point of view, you leave the situation as is to say, well, it looks like we had a larger study. If we have a larger study, we can reach a conclusion. So once again, then this study is really just on the wayside. Vaccines themselves don't seem to have a lot of modulation here, or efficacy here. They do have a modulation which we do not know, but their efficacy did not become apparent. And ivermectin, one more thing here, and that is the ivermectin's usage later or earlier, or prophylaxis or not. So as much as there is a uh, I believe that too as well, that there is an initial prophylaxis that is needed, and then uh, early aggressive treatment is that very important. So we can criticize the study for that, but this is the study they did. Interestingly, because ivermectin has anti-inflammatory behavior, which is why it is used for the skin conditions, that helps or empowers ivermectin to offer more value at a later stage of the disease as well, which is less viral. But still, from the studies, from the mechanisms that we have read, it is on the early stage better positioned. But still, if you see, the trends were very nicely modulated even at this stage. So, this is the discussion I wanted to have. This is more of an opinion. Plus, because I put my opinion out there and the attacks since yesterday's have started again, so it's more, even less than the YouTube, it's people. I might wait for this video to be copied over to Rumble and Odyssey. So I've been on Rumble now for yesterday or day before yesterday. Once it is there, I might just take it down on this side. Okay, to let go says, I hope King Bean gets this over to Odyssey. I think so, it would be there soon. Now, if somebody asked me that, did my own position changed? No, I actually saw some very interesting silver linings in here. So, no, I have been seeing benefit, and I'll continue to see those benefits, it looks like. Cole Summer says, great analysis. Thank you very much. Joe says, what dosage they were. That's actually a very good question. Here is their data. Let me show you. Off the top of my head, and while I'm going to the table, they were using 0.4 milligram per kilogram for 5 days. But in 4 people, they gave it for 4 days. Couple of people for 1 day or one dose. And they included them all. But those with the lesser doses or lesser number of doses were smaller in number, I think 5 or 6 people. Let me show you. Here. So if you see this is their figure screening enrollment flow chart. So if you see here, 241 people received greater than one dose of ivermectin. 232 completed 5 doses. 232 had 0.4 milligram per kilogram body weight for 5 days. 4 received 4 doses. 1 received 3 doses. 2 received 2 doses. 2 received 1 dose. 3 withdrew from the study owing to adverse events after taking ivermectin. 241 included in here, so all of them, and then 249 included here. So that was a good question, Joe. This is interesting. Ilk says probably Chinese vaccine. I thought they had Pfizer. Let me see. So vaccine. Okay, so no idea of what vaccine. So your guess is as good as mine. Texas says design, design, design. We are hoping for a study will have a study will have a perfect design, but even that would probably still be ignored and attacked. That is true. There are some studies actually that I've discussed in the past that had a better design. Um, but one, the general shape of pandemic is changing. For example, California has now said that we are in endemic state. Many countries have gone in endemic state or almost no more COVID state. So at this time, having a study large enough with resources, with dollars, with people uh, to look at mortality benefit may not be very practical. However, I still believe prophylaxis studies and early treatment studies might still be very interesting to do. Christopher says, in my opinion, the participants were too few and ivermectin was given too late. The trial failed, but suggested that it could be useful. So, trial became inconclusive, right? So, when the folks who are using this to say ivermectin has failed, that is incorrect as well because trial didn't show that. When the data is not there, and when people say it works, that also is, we can say general trends are there. So that's why I kept saying yesterday, borrow the FDA's language. They say general trends. Now, look at FDA. They don't, that doesn't stop them, the p value of being significant or not, that doesn't stop them from making significant decisions like they did in bebtelovimab. I think healthcare facilities can make such decisions as well if they use their own thinking power. I think it becomes, at least in the US, it becomes a problem because when FDA can have that little flexibility for themselves, they would not offer the same flexibility for the organizations running under their um, guidance. I think that at some point, there is going to be a huge change in the healthcare mechanics and procedures and processes that we adhere to. And I think even scientific methodology is going to change. So Art Dog says, if fiber is an antibacterial, it is not. Can it negatively affect the microbiome? It is not, but it can cause diarrhea or it can cause increased motility of the GIT, which in turn can impact the microbiome by diarrhea. Colin says, after all observations in the past 18 months on ivermectin being used, I don't think they've been using ivermectin on the ivermectin. Glad to hear your well described critic. The statistical significance means nothing, the effect size means everything. Yes, I'm having severe visual problems in the wax. Have you seen anyone recover from wax? Yes, yes. Actually, one of my own family member, not my wife, had visual issues. And a few days ago, I read for someone who had severe visual issues, and they said their doctor started them on low dose naltrexone. Again, this is not a prescription, this is not a medical advice. I'm just sharing somebody's experience for you to discuss with your doctor. And they said my eyesight had become so um, deteriorated that I could not even see the tail lights of the cars or the signal lights. And they said within 3 4 days they have become so much better that they can start seeing again. My own family member was not able to look at the computer screen or look at the shelves and look at the products, and now they are 100% back. Joe Gray says, I think one of the best outcomes of Dr. Bean's work is to show that what the study actually says is often not what the headline says. This is how stats should be taught. That is true, and I have always struggled with the headlines myself. If you make headline a little technical and accurate, nobody even clicks it. It's a whatever. And if the headline is too enticing or too clickbaity, then there is a incongruence between the headline and the presentation. At the end of the day, you still cannot have a headline that would represent everything that is in the study. The study is made up of thousands of words. So it's an interesting struggle. Luis Grande says, just popped in. Is there a reason he's using ivermectin in the title? The cancer people algorithm is omnipresent. So, Luis, I know this, but the thing is, um, I thought about it today. And I thought, if I get cancelled, then I get cancelled. I'll go find something. There are enough people who know me now that I'll find some way of continuing. There is Rumble, there is Odyssey, there is Zoom. So we'll see. I can tell you that 2 days ago, when I did this discussion of what was that, I talked about the, there was a 2 days ago, I did a semi controversial topic. It should not be a controversial topic, but it was something that needed to be to have a bolder, relatively bolder positioning, and I talked about it. Ivermectin in Oklahoma. Since then, I've gotten so much of the complaints again, and YouTube is just sending me messages, and this is being reviewed and that is being reviewed, and it's just interesting. So, Dana, yes. So, I'm going to, one for the live talks, I'm going to move over to a new channel. I still need all of you, please vote on that um, post so we can decide a name. And then I'm going to move over to that. This morning, I tried to do this on Rumble Live, but Rumble Live also had Odyssey like thing that you have to create a stream key and everything. So, I was not ready yet for how to announce that to you. So I just did it here. I've taken that risk, and I'm hoping it would be moved over to Rumble and Odyssey within next 1 hour, and then I can probably delete it from here. Our doc says you're a gutsy man, Dr. May. I admire you. Plus, you stick to your values. Thank you. Thank you very much. It is actually interesting. This one study's discussion once again brought me heat from both ends. So one group of people who like ivermectin, like I do, They said, well, you're sold. You are talking shit about ivermectin. But really, I was just presenting this data. When we are looking at data, we should not. If you look at my study, it was very, my observation of the study or presentation, it was the study. And then here is my opinion. And I said, this is my opinion, which means it can be wrong. It can be my interpretation is my interpretation, and so on. No worries. And then those folks who do not like ivermectin, they were also having their own little messages. Sita Scott says, you're very brave and we like you for this. Thank you very much. Dana says, where's the place? So let me show you this. Let me actually bring it up. I requested that yesterday as well, and I would request you again. So let me go to, so let me share my screen. Oh, I'm so sorry. This happens sometimes. So if you go to Dr. Bean and go to community here, in the community, the second post, it is kind of, not very conspicuous because it doesn't have an image with it, but it says, suggest a channel name for the live talk. So if you go here, and I should like my own little post. Okay, so if you go here, there are various channel name suggestions here. So please vote for the one that you like. And I'm going to try to take up the one that is most liked. Let me actually post that link here. So here is the link. Terry, thank you very much. Um, Criticism is disappointing. I think that is part of life, right? I'm doing these discussions, at least the ivermectin in Oklahoma, ivermectin this study. If you look at my talk yesterday, I did not put monetization on it, although that was presentation of the study, which would say it doesn't work. But I still didn't monetize it because I still know that there is going to be complaints about it. And YouTube's fact checkers are really not on top of their game, so they cannot really. Sometimes they ding a video where actually you could look at that and say, well, he's talking pro something of the mainstream, and they are still removing it. So I thought, you know what, pandemic is finishing, things are changing, so be it. Notio says, have you seen the study about mRNA lasting 8 weeks? I've heard about it, haven't yet seen it. T Hunter says, thank you for the link. You're very welcome. So, do you have a website? So, I have a website called drbeen.com. I thought that was a safe place for us to hang out. However, there was a complaint about us, which has caused the second audit in last 1 year on drbeen.com. As part of that, we are prevented from talking or posting COVID at all. So we are under lots of pressure. Because of that, there is financial pressure as well, because people say, where are those videos? So, anyways, yes, but um, there is a ban or gag or censorship, not gag, censorship there. Elk says, enjoy a coffee. Thank you very much. Um, Okay, so Elijah says, I love your show. Discussions are scientifically sound. Scientific opinion is solid. And what I like the most is your embrace of ancient natural remedies. Absolute ancient. Yeah, absolutely. God bless you. God bless you as well. Okay, so let's not make this one long. Do you want to do a chit chat after this? I was going to go back and then prepare for BA2 and then come back maybe later in 3-4 hours and discuss that. If you want to do chit chat, I can come back now. Would appreciate a comment about mechanism of action of ivermectin, which was possibly reduced because a base went deeper into the S1 conformation, if that is correct representation of mic. So I did those mechanisms on Odyssey. I can look at this part once more. Okay, so what is the plan for today? Do you want us to come back and hang out, or should I just go and prepare for BA2 and then come back later on? Colombian Bean says, thanks for taking the analysis further. Yes, this part of the analysis is where I could offer my opinion. That is the study. I usually try not to mix the study with the opinion as much as I can. Do more homework? Okay. All right. So I'm going to now go sit outside somewhere in the sun in sunny California, probably go to mountains near my place and read up about BA2. And then as I'm ready, we'll assemble again. So thank you all very much and have a good day. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if you would like to support this, what I've done is I've added a link for drbeen.com as well. That is a way to support that too, because that site is also under pressure at this time. And it's a discounted link. I sometimes joke with my team that the amount I charge for that through that discounted link is not even worth. It's just one video's worth is more than that amount, and there are 1,000 videos or more. Anyways, there is that. Plus, there is a link for buying me a coffee or becoming a patron or using PayPal. Thank you very much. Stay safe, happy, healthy. It's a weekend. Enjoy that. Be happy. Go out in sun if you can, and if you are at a time where the sun is out there. And I would see you after I have prepared for BA2. Thank you and bye bye.